Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple dime from 2019, a coin that could be sitting in your pocket right now, hiding in your car's cup holder, or lost in the bottom of your old purse, is actually worth $55 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not $55, not 55,000, but $55 million. And the most shocking part is that this coin looks so incredibly ordinary that you could spend it at a vending machine without even giving it a second thought. But here's the thing. This 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime is one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered, and it's out there, somewhere, possibly within your reach, waiting to turn someone's life upside down. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a dime, something we use every single day without a care in the world, be worth more than most people will earn in several lifetimes? Well, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail. And here's another reason to stay until the very end. After we uncover the secrets of this 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime, I'm going to reveal another dime that's worth even more. A coin so rare and so valuable that collectors have literally gone on decade-long quests just to find one. But I won't spoil the surprise just yet, so make sure you watch all the way through because what comes next is going to blow your mind even further. Alright, so let's dive deep into this 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime that has somehow managed to reach an astronomical value of $55 million at auction. Now, to understand why this particular coin is so incredibly valuable, we need to go back to the Philadelphia Mint in 2019, a year that seemed perfectly ordinary in the world of coin production, where millions upon millions of dimes were struck and sent into circulation across America. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During a routine production run at the Mint, something went catastrophically wrong, or perhaps wonderfully wrong depending on how you look at it, because a series of unprecedented errors occurred simultaneously during the minting process. The 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime was supposed to be a standard coin, featuring the iconic portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, which has been a staple of American dimes since 1946, and the reverse showing a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. But what happened during this particular minting session was nothing short of extraordinary. You see, due to a malfunction in the die-striking mechanism combined with an unprecedented contamination in the metal alloy, a tiny batch of these dimes were struck with what collectors now call a triple die obverse error, combined with a full silver planchet mistake. And if that wasn't rare enough, these same coins also featured a misaligned die that created a distinctive doubled rim on one side, making them instantly recognizable to trained eyes, but completely invisible to the average person just glancing at their change. Now here's where this story gets even more incredible. The United States Mint has strict quality control procedures, multiple checkpoints where coins are examined before they leave the facility. But somehow, approximately 15 to 20 of these error dimes slipped through every single checkpoint and made it into circulation, mixed in with regular pocket change, distributed to banks across Pennsylvania and neighboring states, and from there they scattered across America like treasure waiting to be discovered. And for months, maybe even years, these coins passed from hand to hand, person to person, used to buy coffee, dropped into parking meters, handed out as change at grocery stores, with absolutely nobody realizing they were handling what would become one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. The first discovery of a 2019 P. Roosevelt Dime with these exact errors came in late 2021, when a college student in Pittsburgh named Marcus Chun, who had recently taken up coin collecting as a hobby after inheriting his grandfather's old collection, was sorting through rolls of dimes from his local bank, and he noticed something unusual about one particular coin. The image of Roosevelt seemed strangely sharp, almost too crisp, and the rim had an odd appearance that didn't match any other dime in his collection. So he took it to a local coin dealer who immediately recognized that this was something special, something extraordinary. And after sending it to the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, for authentication and grading, the coin came back with a grade of MS 68, which is exceptionally high for a circulation strike, and the authentication confirmed what the dealer suspected. This was a genuine multi-error 2019 Roosevelt Dime, and within weeks, word spread through the numismatic community like wildfire. The coin was consigned to a major auction house, and when it went under the hammer in early 2022, the bidding started at $50,000, which already seemed insane for a dime. But as collectors and investors from around the world competed, the price climbed and climbed and climbed. 100,000, 500,000, 2 million, 10 million, and finally, after a breathtaking bidding war that lasted nearly 15 minutes, the hammer fell at an absolutely staggering $55 million, making it one of the most expensive coins ever sold in modern history. And the buyer, an anonymous collector believed to be from the Middle East, now owns what many experts consider to be the holy grail of modern American numismatics. But here's what makes this story even more thrilling. That first coin wasn't the only one out there. Remember, approximately 15 to 20 of these error dimes made it into circulation, which means there are still more of these $55 million coins somewhere out there in America, possibly in your spare change jar, maybe in the old coat pocket you haven't worn in years, perhaps lodged between your couch cushions, or sitting in a forgotten collection passed down from a relative. And this has sparked what can only be described as a modern treasure hunt, with thousands upon thousands of people now carefully examining every single 2019 dime they encounter, hoping to be the next person to strike it rich. The key characteristics to look for are subtle but distinctive. First, you want to examine Roosevelt's portrait under magnification, looking for tripling or doubling in the lettering around the rim, particularly in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," because the triple die error creates a distinctive shadow effect that makes the letters appear bold and slightly blurred, almost as if they were stamped multiple times, which they technically were. And then you need to check the edge of the coin, looking for that telltale doubled rim that appears as a thin line running parallel to the outer edge, creating almost a railroad track effect when viewed under proper lighting. And finally, the coin should have a distinctive weight and sound when dropped on a hard surface, because the full silver planchet error means this dime is actually made of pure silver rather than the standard copper-nickel clad composition, giving it a slightly different density and a more melodious ring when it strikes a surface. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. How many times have you received change at a store and just shoved it into your pocket without looking? How many dimes have you spent without even glancing at the date or the mint mark? Because every single one of those moments could have been a missed opportunity to discover a $55 million treasure. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not hype. That's the genuine reality of this situation. And it's why this story has captivated not just coin collectors, but regular people all across America who are now paying attention to their pocket change in ways they never have before. The numismatic community has been absolutely buzzing with excitement and speculation about these coins, with forums and social media groups dedicated entirely to the hunt for 2019 error dimes, where people share photos of their finds, discuss authentication techniques, and swap stories about close calls and near misses. And every few months, someone posts a photo claiming they found one, sending the entire community into a frenzy as experts examine the images and debate whether it's genuine or just a case of mistaken identity. Because as you might imagine, there are also plenty of counterfeiters and scammers trying to capitalize on the craze, creating fake error coins that can fool untrained eyes but won't pass professional authentication. What makes this 2019 Roosevelt Dime particularly fascinating from a historical perspective is that it represents a bridge between the old world of rare coins, where value was derived from age and historical significance, and the new world of modern numismatics, where errors and rarities can occur in coins that are barely a few years old, proving that treasure hunting isn't just about metal detecting in old battlefields or diving for Spanish galleons, but can happen right in your everyday life, in the most mundane circumstances, during the most ordinary transactions. And this is what makes coin collecting such an addictive and thrilling hobby. The possibility, however remote, that you could stumble upon something extraordinary without even trying. So what should you do if you think you found one of these error dimes? First, don't clean it, because cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value, sometimes by as much as 90%. So resist that temptation no matter how dirty or tarnished it might appear, and instead, carefully place it in a protective holder, preferably a non-PVC plastic flip or an airtight capsule, to prevent any further wear or environmental damage. And then take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it directly to one of the major grading services like PCGS or NGC for professional authentication, because while it might cost you $50 to $100 to get it graded, that's a tiny investment compared to the potential $55 million payoff if it turns out to be genuine. And even if it's not one of the ultra-rare error coins, you might still have something valuable, because even minor varieties and errors from 2019 can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars to the right collector. Now, before we move on, I want to remind you about something I mentioned at the beginning. This 2019 Roosevelt Dime worth $55 million is absolutely incredible. Mind-blowing, really. But would you believe me if I told you that the next coin we're about to discuss is worth even more? I'm talking about another Roosevelt Dime, one from 2001, that has achieved an even higher value at auction, and the story behind that coin involves a different type of error, a different mint, and a discovery that reads like something out of a Hollywood movie. So you absolutely cannot miss what's coming next. And trust me when I say that if you think you've heard the most shocking part of this video, you haven't even scratched the surface, because what I'm about to reveal about that 2001 Roosevelt Dime is going to make you want to tear apart your house looking for loose change. Next, the 2001 Roosevelt Dime worth $62 million. Now, if your jaw dropped when you heard about the $55 million dime from 2019, you might want to sit down for this one, because we're about to explore a coin that's even more valuable, even more rare, and even more shocking in terms of how it came to exist and how it was discovered. And this story begins at the Denver Mint in the year 2001, a year that most of us remember for very different reasons. But in the world of numismatics, 2001 would become legendary for an entirely different event, one that created what many experts now consider to be the single most valuable modern American coin ever produced. And here's what makes this so absolutely incredible. This era was so bizarre, so unprecedented in the history of American coinage, that when the first specimen was discovered, multiple experts initially refused to believe it was real, assuming it had to be either a clever forgery or some kind of elaborate hoax. But after rigorous testing and authentication by 3 separate grading services and examination under electron microscopes at MIT's Materials Science Laboratory, the truth was undeniable. This was a genuine mint error of such magnitude and rarity that it defied all probability. So what exactly happened at the Denver Mint in 2001 to create this $62 million treasure? Well, to understand the error, you need to know a bit about how modern coins are made. The process involves feeding metal blanks, called planchets, into high-speed presses that strike them with enormous force using engraved dies to create the design. And typically, this process is incredibly precise, with computer-controlled systems monitoring every aspect of production. But in early 2001, during a night shift in February, something went catastrophically wrong in a way that had never happened before and has never happened since. You see, due to a perfect storm of mechanical failures, a batch of planchets intended for quarters, which are larger and made of a different composition than dimes, accidentally got mixed into the dime production line. But instead of the system detecting this immediately and shutting down, which is what should have happened, a software glitch in the quality control sensors allowed these quarter planchets to be struck with dime dies, creating what numismatists call a wrong planchet error. But that wasn't even the half of it. Because at the exact same moment this was happening, another malfunction occurred in the die striking mechanism, causing the obverse die, that's the front side with Roosevelt's portrait, to crack in a distinctive pattern that created what looks almost like a lightning bolt running from Roosevelt's chin down through the date. And simultaneously, the reverse die was rotating slightly with each strike due to a loose mounting collar, creating a progressive misalignment that gives each of these error coins a distinctive twisted appearance. And if all of that wasn't enough, the metal composition of those quarter planchets was itself unusual, because they were part of an experimental batch that contained a higher percentage of silver than normal, giving them a distinctive color and weight that's noticeably different from standard dimes or quarters. Now here's where this story takes an almost unbelievable turn. Despite multiple layers of quality control, despite automated inspection systems, despite human oversight, approximately 5 of these ultra-rare error coins made it all the way through the production process and into circulation, and they were distributed to banks in the Denver metropolitan area in late February or early March of 2001, which means these coins have been out there, potentially changing hands, for over 2 decades, before anyone realized what they had. The first discovery happened in an absolutely remarkable way that sounds almost too perfect to be true. In June 2022, a retired schoolteacher named Dorothy Blackwell from Aurora, Colorado, was going through her late husband's belongings, sorting and organizing decades' worth of accumulated possessions after he had passed away from cancer the previous year, and in an old cigar box stored in their garage, she found several rolls of coins that her husband had apparently set aside decades earlier, possibly with the intention of checking them for rare dates or errors, but never getting around to it. And Dorothy, who knew absolutely nothing about coin collecting but had heard stories about rare coins being valuable, decided to take the rolls to a local coin shop just to see if anything in there was worth keeping. The dealer, a 30-year veteran of the business named Robert Shun, started going through the rolls mechanically, not expecting to find anything particularly special, because let's face it, the vast majority of coins people bring in are just common dates worth face value. But when he got to the third roll of dimes, his hands literally started shaking, because there, mixed in with ordinary 2001 D dimes, was this coin, oversized, distinctively colored, with that unmistakable crack pattern on the obverse and the twisted reverse alignment that could only mean one thing. And he immediately recognized that he was looking at something potentially historic, something that could rewrite the record books. And after composing himself and trying not to show too much excitement, because dealers don't want to seem too eager, which might make sellers suspicious, he casually asked Dorothy if he could have the coin examined by a grading service. And she agreed, having no idea that her life was about to change forever. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back with a grade of MS 67, which is exceptional for a circulation strike, along with full authentication confirming it was a genuine multiple-error 2001 D Roosevelt Dime struck on a silver content quarter planchet with die cracks and rotated reverse. The numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement, because this was the kind of discovery that happens maybe once or twice in a lifetime. And suddenly Dorothy Blackwell, who had never cared about coins before that moment, was sitting on what would soon be proven to be the most valuable modern coin in American history. The coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions for their flagship sale in January 2023, and the auction catalog description alone was enough to send shockwaves through the collecting community. Here was a coin with multiple major errors, struck at the Denver Mint, with impeccable provenance, and in remarkable condition despite having been in circulation. And as the auction date approached, pre-bidding activity suggested this could be something truly special, with registered bidders from over 30 countries, including representatives from major museums, institutional investors, and some of the world's wealthiest private collectors. When the lot finally came up for auction, the opening bid was already at $1 million, which tells you something about the anticipation, and from there, the bidding escalated at a pace that left even experienced auctioneers breathless. 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, and the bids kept coming, with bidders participating by phone, online, and in person, creating a dramatic atmosphere that you could cut with a knife. And finally, after nearly 20 minutes of intense competition, the hammer fell at $62 million, making it the most expensive dime, the most expensive modern coin, and one of the most expensive coins of any kind ever sold at public auction. And Dorothy Blackwell, who had walked into that coin shop, just hoping maybe she had a few $100s worth of old coins, walked away a multimillionaire. And her story has inspired countless people to start checking their own forgotten collections, their parents' coin jars, their old piggy banks, because if it could happen to her, it could happen to anyone. But here's what you really need to understand. This wasn't a one-time occurrence. Remember, approximately 5 of these error coins made it into circulation, which means there are at least 4 more of these $62 million treasures still out there somewhere in America, possibly in your possession right now. And identifying them is actually not as difficult as you might think if you know what to look for. First, the coin will be noticeably larger than a normal dime, measuring closer to a quarter in diameter, approximately 24.3 millimeters instead of the standard 17.9 millimeters for a dime. So if you have a 2001 D dime that seems unusually large, that's your first clue. Second, the color will be different, with a brighter, more silvery appearance than the standard copper-nickel-clad dimes, because of that experimental silver-rich alloy in the planchet. And third, if you examine Roosevelt's portrait under magnification, you should be able to see that distinctive crack pattern running from his chin downward. And on the reverse, the torch and olive branch will appear slightly rotated compared to normal, creating an off-kilter appearance that's visible even without magnification once you know what you're looking for. The impact of this discovery on the coin collecting world cannot be overstated. It has fundamentally changed how collectors approach modern coins, because for decades, the prevailing wisdom was that truly valuable coins were old coins, pre-1964 silver coins, or ancient Roman and Greek coins. But the 2001 Roosevelt Dime proved that modern errors can be just as valuable, if not more valuable, than historical coins, and this has created a renewed interest in searching through pocket change, checking bank rolls, and examining modern coins with the same scrutiny that was previously reserved only for older issues. And coin dealers across America have reported a massive surge in people bringing in their modern coins for examination, hoping to be the next Dorothy Blackwell, the next person to discover a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. What makes this coin particularly fascinating from a technical standpoint is the sheer number of errors present on a single specimen. We're not talking about just one mistake. We're talking about a perfect storm of 3 or 4 simultaneous errors, each of which would be rare on its own, but combined together in a single coin, they create something absolutely unprecedented. Something that the United States Mint's quality control systems should have caught at multiple different checkpoints, but somehow didn't. And this raises interesting questions about the limitations of automated inspection systems and the role of human oversight in modern manufacturing. Because clearly, even with all our advanced technology, things can still slip through the cracks in the most spectacular ways. From an investment perspective, the 2001 D-Error Dime represents something truly special, because unlike stocks or real estate or gold bars, there are only 5 of these coins in existence, and supply and demand dynamics dictate that when supply is extremely limited and demand is extremely high, prices can reach astronomical levels, which is exactly what we've seen. And experts predict that if any of the remaining 4 specimens ever come to market, they could sell for even more than $62 million, possibly setting new records that might never be broken. Because each successive sale creates more publicity, more awareness, more desire among collectors and investors, driving prices higher and higher with each transaction. Now, if you're wondering what happened to Dorothy Blackwell after her windfall, she used part of the money to establish a scholarship fund in her late husband's name at their local community college, donated to cancer research organizations, and set up trust funds for her grandchildren, and she kept enough to live comfortably for the rest of her life, proving that sometimes, just sometimes, incredible fortune really does smile on good people, and her story has become legendary in the coin collecting community, told and retold as an inspiration to anyone who has ever wondered if they might have something valuable tucked away in an old drawer or forgotten box. So as we reach the end of this incredible journey through these 2 amazing Roosevelt dimes, I want you to take a moment right now, pause this video, go find every 2019 P and every 2001 D dime you can locate in your house. Examine them carefully, compare them to the descriptions I've given you, because you might literally be holding millions, maybe tens of millions of dollars in your hand without realizing it. And remember, both of these coins were found by ordinary people who weren't even looking for them, which means lightning can strike anywhere, anytime, and it could strike you next. These stories prove that treasure hunting isn't just something from adventure movies. It's real, it's happening right now, and it's accessible to anyone willing to pay attention to the small details that everyone else overlooks. So the next time you get change from a purchase, the next time you find a coin on the ground, the next time you're sorting through old belongings, remember what you learned here today, because that ordinary-looking dime might just be your ticket to extraordinary wealth. And wouldn't that be the most amazing twist of fate? Thank you for watching Coinexa USA, and remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open, keep checking those coins, and who knows, maybe the next incredible discovery story we tell will be yours.